Mm-hmm. Okay, so welcome to Satsang. Welcome to this meeting. As you know, if you have any questions, please feel free to pose your question anytime.
Hi, Magdi.
Maria, hello, Maria.
Hi. Magdi, when I was sitting quietly this morning, I had this feeling like I'm not quite sure when I'm thinking and when I'm aware. It's like awareness versus thinking. I find myself, you know, like I could be just sitting there and all the sounds, the senses, the sensations, I'm experiencing all that. And a thought says, oh, I'm aware of all this stuff that I'm perceiving. Mm-hmm. And then another thought comes and say, oh, that's a thought that just said, I'm aware of all the sensations. So could you help me have more clarity on this?
Yes, Maria. So the thought that arises that says, or that says that I am aware is itself a thought. Something is aware of that thought. You know what I mean? In other words.
Uh-huh. So it's like in the background, kind of, or.
It is not possible to have any experience outside of awareness.
Uh-huh, okay.
It's not possible. There is no okay. So let me repeat that. I'm not sure how I can increase my volume. I'm at maximum volume. Okay. Can you hear me okay out there? Tara is mentioning to me that maybe there is an issue with the volume. Are you hearing me okay?
I'm hearing you perfectly.
Okay, Mary. So it's not possible to have any experience outside of awareness. So right now, there is this perception, or let's say the thoughts that you brought up. There is the thought that, am I aware of this perception, or is the fact that I'm aware, is that just a thought? Is awareness a thought, or is awareness real, for example, right? If that thought arises. That very thought that is arising requires awareness. In other words, it arises within awareness. Do you follow that?
Yeah, yes, I do follow that. I'm so sorry that when I'm not talking, I'm muting it just because there's some construction around and I wanted to mute your voice. But I'm totally following you. So the fact that I notice this thought that's asking whether this is awareness itself that's aware of this thought.
That's it. In other words, if you trace back
mm-hmm.
a thought of a thought of a thought of a thought, at some point, the buck has to stop somewhere.
Uh-huh.
At some point, you're going to come onto awareness. also, Maria, if thought cannot perceive, if thought is an object that is perceived, yes, it's a subtle object. For example, today is a beautiful day. That thought, or the thought, gee, I'd love to go to New York City. The thought is appearing in awareness. It is an object. It does not perceive another thought. The thought, I love my mother, and the thought, be nice to have some pasta this evening. The thought, I love my mother, does not know another thought. So if any experience, whether it is a thought, a sensation, or a perception, refers to its knowingness, refers to awareness. And there is, of course, the concept awareness, the thought awareness, the thought that awareness is a reality. But the thought awareness, the concept awareness, the image awareness, the concept refers to the reality, whatever it is right now that perceives, that is. And there is nothing that is self-knowing, and thought does not know itself. The perception does not know itself. The knowingness of any experience is awareness. And there is only one possible self-knowingness, which is knowingness knowing itself. A tree does not know itself. It is known. The only thing, let's say, but it's not really a thing, the only non-thing that knows itself is I. I know I am. I know I am. And this knowingness is not mediated by thought. See, when you ask yourself, am I? You don't think about it. You go to the fact of being. And you realize, yes, I am. Yes, beingness is. It's not going to some image or some idea or some memory. You go directly to your knowingness of yourself, which is inherent to knowingness. Knowingness within itself knows it knows. And it knows it is. I know I am. So when you are wondering whether you are thinking or whether you are aware, that very thought is known to you by you.
I see it.
And in a way, it doesn't matter that much what is it, what it is that you are knowing. what matters much more is the fact of knowingness. In other words, we often get entangled into in the object that we are knowing, whether we are knowing the right thing or we are knowing something that is good or bad. We are often entangled in the object of our knowingness, and we overlook knowingness itself, which we overlook the I, the fact of knowing. So when we get entangled into objects of perception, it's referred to as thinking.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Knowing, turning its attention to knowing, is not a process of thinking. It's a direct knowingness of I knowing, I am, I knowing, I know, I knowing, I know. You follow? So rather than be so concerned whether you are thinking or you are not thinking, turn your attention to the I that you are referring to. And in fact, there is one I that perceives many variety of perceptions, many variety of thoughts and sensations. But in spite of the variety of the thoughts and the feelings and the sensations, they refer to the same knowingness, to the same I. To the same self.
Yeah, it's when you say turn your attention to the I, that same knowingness that knows any amount, X amount of perceptions or objects, but I get tangled up with the turning my attention to the I, because as you rightly say, the I is not an object.
Right.
So how, immediately I'm like, how do I turn my attention to the I?
Right, that's a very good question. Yes. It's easy to turn your attention towards an object. You hear a sound or
Right.
Or you
feel directing my attention that way. It's almost like an outward thing. Or even a thought feels a little outward, like outward from the I knowingness.
Yes, right. In a way, you are turning your attention to the thought. Yes.
Right.
The question is, how do I turn my attention to I?
Yes.
And that's a very good question, because in a way, turning your attention to an object is via the senses or via the mentation. But when you turn your attention to the I, it's more of a recognition, sort of more of a it's actually not, it's a non-movement. It's the non-movement. And there is an interest. You ask yourself, well, how can I turn myself towards I? How can I turn my attention towards I? How can awareness be aware of itself?
Mm-hmm.
Already there is an interest within that question. There is an interest within that question. And the tendency is to turn the attention towards an object. But here we are without an object.
Yes.
And so there is, in fact, nowhere to go.
Right. It's like the I trying to look at the I itself, right? Or
Right.
like,
Right. There is nowhere to go. And that in itself is sufficient. The interest in knowing how knowing knows itself, the interest in knowing itself, and noticing the tendency to objectify, to create an object which relates to a subject. And in noticing this tendency, there is a pause. And within that pause, all what remains, so to speak, is awareness resting as itself.
mm-hmm.
Because you're correct, Maria, in saying that you only turn your attention towards objects. But here the I is not an object, it's the reality that perceives, the awareness.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because when I try to turn my attention to I, to the knowing that's knowing, sometimes immediately what comes up is like an image of myself in the mirror, and then I know, like, oh no, that's just the body, right?
Yes, because
That's not the I
image
that's
is an
aware.
object.
That's an object that I'm aware of, right? So then I say, okay, then you got to go farther back. It's like this going farther back.
You don't need to go farther back. You don't need, because there is no farther back. It's just simply
right. I hit the wall. There's no farther back, right?
It's simply noticing that, oh, that was an image.
Right, and I do that. I notice that.
Yeah, you notice that that's an image, and that in itself is sufficient, because when you notice that it's an image, then you're not following that, because you're not interested in the object. The objects are, we know them, because you're looking to just for awareness to recognize itself.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the closest I get is this sense, this feeling of maybe like a spacious stillness, and maybe that's what you call the pause.
Yes.
It feels a little bit like the pause, It's like something opens up, and you can't say what that is, or there's no name, but there's a kind of a kinesthetic sensation of
sensation. It's still
that's an object. Yeah, that's an object. So how would I say that then? Yeah, it might still be an object, but it's a sense of spacious stillness. I guess that's the best thing I can do to describe.
Yes. Consider the following, Maria, that awareness is made out of it. The substance of awareness is awareness. Do you agree?
Yes.
So in other words, the substance
of awareness is awareness.
In other words, the substance of being is being. the substance of knowingness is knowingness. The substance of knowing is knowing. So it's already made out of knowing. In other words, awareness is already made out of awareness. You follow?
Yes, yes.
So it's already, it's already, because its substance is knowingness, it's already made out of knowingness. So therefore it knows that it knows it's made out of knowingness. It's already knowing. It's already self-knowing because its substance is knowingness. But when we imagine that there is somebody outside of awareness that can know that awareness is knowing, now we have two things happening. We have awareness that knows that it knows, and we have somebody who wants to discover that. You follow?
Yes.
We have two things happening. We have awareness that knows that it knows, and we have somebody who's interested in discovering that.
Yes.
So we have two separate objects now. We have awareness, which is awareness knowing itself, which is some sort of goal, and somebody who wants it, or who wants to understand it, or to attain it, or to discover it. And that somebody that wants to realize that awareness is self-knowing. What is it?
Same awareness.
Yes, because there's only one I awareness. So imagining that awareness knowing itself is some sort of goal for me to attain. Within itself, there is that impression of separation.
Right.
The contemplation is that awareness, meaning, we're not talking theoretically, awareness meaning the reality right now, whatever it is right now that is perceiving this perception. Yes? That awareness already is. In fact, this perception could not be possible if it wasn't for awareness. Awareness already is checking this perception. Check.
Well, awareness is the one that's aware that there's somebody who wants to realize that awareness is already aware, right?
Absolutely. Because in order for somebody to be interested in realizing the self, there has to be some thoughts of somebody, some image of somebody who is lacking and who is seeking, yes? And that image or feeling of somebody who is lacking and seeking, that arises
in awareness. Yes.
So it is as if an object within awareness is looking for awareness.
Yes.
You follow?
Yeah. It's like the eyeballs looking for the eye, kind of.
Yes, right, yes, right, yes.
Okay, well, thank you, because I often, when I sit down quietly and I'm perceiving and I'm like, oh, this is so nice, the thought comes up, this is so nice, I'm so aware of all this thing that's going on, I'm aware of the sensations, of the sounds, of the breath, I'm aware of this thought coming up, and then I'm like, wait, but am I really aware, or am I thinking I'm aware, or, then I start getting kind of tangled up in more and more thought.
Yes, The question is, what is it that is aware?
Right.
You're aware of a feeling, and I'm sitting in meditation, and I'm aware of feeling. I'm aware of the quietness. I'm aware of a smooth, tingling feeling, whatever.
Uh-huh.
The question, what is this I that is aware? It's very important. What is the I that is aware? Because yes, you are aware of a sensation. But what is that I? Yes, you are aware of a tranquil feeling. But what is that I? You see? From the perspective of the separate self, that I is Maria, is the person, the brain, or whatever it is, whichever way we define the person.
Uh-huh.
A separate self, a separate consciousness. But in fact, there is only one I that is aware of the tingling feeling or aware of the peace, and that is awareness. Yes?
The tricky thing here is that the awareness is not personal,
Well, wait. Before we get there, before we go into that, let's agree that what is aware of during meditation or any time of any experience is awareness.
Right.
We agree on that?
Yes.
It's not some body mind. It is awareness that is aware. Right?
Right.
Okay.
But it's aware of this particular, say, content.
Aware of the content, aware of right. Aware of the experience.
Objects are being perceived not by another body mind. It's just being perceived like it's almost like it's like awareness, being aware of this particular set of perceptions via Maria, this body mind.
Yeah, body mind. Yes.
So it's just this particular set of perceptions, because another body mind is not really being aware of this set of perceptions.
Yes, via this particular body mind, awareness is aware of this perception, of this content. Yes?
But is it through this particular body mind?
I'm sorry, what was that?
I'm just wondering if it's okay. Awareness is aware of the set of perceptions, but through this particular body mind, because this set of perceptions is being perceived now seemingly only through this body mind whose name is Maria, because
if
the Mahdi is not perceiving or not being aware of this particular set of perceptions.
It is not Magdi that is aware.
Right.
So yes, via the particular Maria body mind, there is a very specific perception that is arising in awareness.
Right. That's okay.
Via awareness in awareness. Anyways, let's just stay with arising in awareness. Right?
Okay.
Now, via the particular body mind, Magdi, there is a different set of perceptions that is arising in awareness.
Right.
You agree?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But they're all arising in this awareness.
In awareness. Now let's look at awareness itself. When we've agreed that within body mind Maria and within body mind Magdi, via these instruments, there are specific perceptions that are in a way particular to these body minds that is arising in awareness. Yes?
Yes.
Now let's turn our attention to awareness.
Okay.
So now we're no longer looking at what it is that is being perceived via any particular body mind. We're looking at what is it that the reality of perception, awareness.
Awareness.
Now, awareness is not an object. You agree?
Yes, I agree.
And we're not talking about a concept. We're talking about the reality that is. It is, and you can prove it via I am, right? Via I am, and I'm aware. So we're talking about being awareness, beingness awareness. Yes?
Yes.
Now, this beingness awareness is not an object, so therefore we could say it is neither female or male, neither tall or short, neither in the west or the east, neither liquid or vapor. Yes? It has no phenomenal qualities.
Mm-hmm.
You are following?
Yes.
And therefore, it has no form and is not contained in any container. Because
Mm-hmm.
in a container, in a glass, you pour some wine or you pour some water. So you put an object, a liquid object inside a glass. But awareness not being non-objective is not contained or is not localized. Right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Meaning, because it's not contained, it's not localized, and has no borders, meaning you cannot speak of awareness A and awareness B and awareness C and awareness D. You follow?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Your experience of awareness, because you are awareness, you are aware, I am aware. Your experience of awareness is that it is non-localized. It is not limited, not in any realm. It's not contained in any realm. It is not subject to any condition. Like, for example, water is subject to temperature. It can turn into ice or it can turn into vapor, right?
Uh-huh.
But not awareness. That does not apply to awareness. Awareness does not get augmented or diminished. There is nothing that is possible without awareness. No experience is possible without awareness. And if awareness, if you are aware of a snowstorm, or if you're aware of beautiful weather, the awareness of the snowstorm is not a different awareness or more intense awareness than the awareness of the sunny weather.
Mm.
You follow?
Yes, yes.
Although what is perceived is drastically different,
Mm-hmm.
awareness is not drastically different as a result of the content of perception. Yes?
Mm-hmm.
So if we are together that awareness is formless, non-localized, borderless, so therefore there aren't 2 or 3 or 5 or 20 or 7 billion awarenesses, then the perception that arises via the Maria body mind to awareness, which is different from the perception that arises via body mind Magdi, arises to the same awareness.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. I think the key here is, if seems to me, is who. Yes, the awareness is not localized within a body mind. A body mind arises within this non-localized, non-limited, not contained awareness, which almost feels like when they say we're all one, it's almost like saying we are all one. Well, this one awareness, that's the only thing that exists.
Yes, right. Whenever we say we are one, we're talking about we are one as awareness. So then to say we
Right. Uh-huh.
makes no sense when there is oneness, but As a matter of speaking,
Right.
it's okay, you know, to say.
Right, that's right. Yes. So it's an oxymoron just to say we are
Because,
one, because then how can you have we? That
right,
means
right.
many be one.
Language is an approximation. You
Mhm.
cannot fully speak non-dual.
Yes, non-duality cannot be spoken through language.
But we can have a conversation using a careful way of looking together using language that can help us to clarify uh, some of the misunderstandings.
Yes, that has been so clear. Thank you so much, Magdi. Yes, it's a beautiful conversation. It has
Okay.
clarified my question about thought versus awareness. Thank you.
Yes, yes. Beautiful. Okay, Maria. A good metaphor is the night dream. In our night dream, we may dream of many different characters that have each character in our dream is having their own experience. They may be in different cities, in different situations, with different activities. And from the point of view of the characters, the various characters in our dream, there is a personal point of view, a personal window of perception that seem to be separate, but they're also interconnected via our dream. So they may be in the same city and they may run into each other, etc. And say, hello, I knew you from before, from many years ago. We went to school together. This interconnection that they have with each other is because they are within our dream. There is a common, although they have their particular minds, their particular experiences, and their particular perception, they are also interconnected via our dream because we are dreaming them. So there is a larger interconnection between them, a larger mind, let's say. And this is why they recognize each other, or they have a shared some shared points of views. Of course, they have their private thoughts, but they both, for example, know that they live in Amsterdam. But the reality of their experience, the reality of their individual minds, the reality of their shared minds, meaning the reality of Amsterdam, is not in the content, is not in Amsterdam, or is not in their individual minds. The reality is the dreamer. But via your dream, you can experience, and you do experience, these various dream characters, and you do experience via your dream their respective experiences, their respective minds. And also you do experience their shared minds. And all their experiences come from you, the dreamer. And in the waking state, is a similar metaphor than the dream state, in that we experience particular separate perceptions, like you're not perceiving the yellow couch that I'm looking at, nor am I perceiving your kitchen table. You're not perceiving my thoughts, nor am I perceiving your thoughts. So there is a particular, separate, private world to that particular body-mind. And there is a shared mind. For example, we all know that New York City is a very large city in New York State, in the United States. So we have a shared mind. We all know that this planet is, we call it planet Earth, and that it's not flat. And the reality of our experience, which seems to be separate, is that the common consciousness that one could say dreams all these dreams out of itself without being augmented or diminished. And via its creativity, meaning via creating all these individual minds, it experiences infinite worlds and infinite experiences. And the messy part of all this is when we start to believe that I am, in fact, a separate reality. I, meaning this body-mind, to be specific, this particular body-mind bundle of thoughts and beliefs and images and feelings and histories and stories. I am some reality that is separate from your reality. And then there is something at stake. We immediately feel there is something at stake. Because we have not yet come to the understanding, which we call the realization, that I is actually the entire realm of consciousness. We have not yet arrived to that established understanding. We are on our way, but we haven't yet, we are not fully living that understanding yet. And so we experience from time to time that there is something at stake. It's something we need to defend, protect, seek, avoid, which is still at the, what we refer to at the ego level. So the journey is the journey from the separate self to the universal self. So we go from birth to the separate self to the universal self. Birth meaning undifferentiated experience that has not yet realized its inherent nature, that is purely experiential. So we go from purely experiential to the egoic and then to the divine. Any question? Any question? Hello, Emmanuel. You write, Hola, can you share some words about surrendering? So in surrendering, the best surrendering is the natural surrendering. Like a flower that has bloomed. At some point, it surrenders its petals. Or like a tree surrenders its leaves. Being surrendered without any intention. But it's really lovely when we surrender the false, what is untrue. But we cannot surrender it until it is seen very clearly. And then in the clarity of insight, in the clarity of seeing, the false can no longer maintain itself, can no longer be maintained, and it gets surrendered. There is an understanding that facilitates the surrendering. And the understanding is that I does not refer to a personal mind, but that I refers to God's mind. And that it is God's mind that is shining through this body mind. And that everything is God's mind. Because everything that we experience is mind. And it's not something that we personally design, but we experience it via the light of awareness, via the potential and the creativity of consciousness. A deep understanding of that leads to a relaxation. And relaxation is at the heart of surrendering. It is a sweet surrender rather than a forced surrender, an imposed rather than an imposed surrender. So in surrendering, there is a recognition of God's love that appears as everything, that is everything, and the only love there is. And we are the celebration and the manifestation of that love. That infinite grace, God's channel. And it's God's will to appear as everything, inviting us to this recognition, you see, that I is God's mind. There are no separate selves. When you look at the self, it is the self that is looking. And the self that is looking is not an object. It is the one self, always the self looking, being, ising, isnessing. The self knows itself, knows it is, and knows it is reality, and it knows that it is knowing. And in this understanding, the belief and the feeling in time, which is more important, that awareness or knowingness is personal, that I am more spiritual and therefore more aware than my neighbor. The beliefs that consciousness refers to a body-mind and depends on a body-mind. And that reality is a body-mind. It's body-mind that is real. It's body-mind that it's all about the body-mind. This narrow understanding makes room for the understanding that it is all about consciousness. And that all is consciousness. There is only that. It's only the reality of the self. So it's a sort of meditation onto the reality of self. And not so much concern about the content of mind. Because content of mind is like the weather, is constantly changing. So the contemplation of the changeless self within everything, within us and within everything, sort of rather than staying at the surface of things, to dive deeply into that which is at the core of our experience. the pure stillness of being awareness, of presence, knowingness. The still core of being. There's the light of that wisdom that shines. And that light does not know anything outside of itself, as there is nothing outside of itself. So within that understanding, the belief in objective realities do not stand a chance. They the flame within them gets extinguished. And that is surrender. Okay, Manuel. In terms of living our experiences, to doing our best to first to come to the understanding that I am awareness, that I refers to awareness, and not to an object within awareness. And then to, in your experience, to go to the core of your experience. At the surface, there is thinking and trying, avoiding, seeking, arguing, thinking and feeling. At the surface of your experience, there's thinking and feeling. You feel good, you feel bad, you feel better, etc. But at the core of your experience, at the heart of your experience, is the light of being, the I am, and the wisdom of awareness. I know, and I know that I know. So the habitual tendency of remaining at the surface of your experience in the mind, which keeps you at that level, keeps you like when you throw a stone on the water, it skips onto the surface of the water. So you need to sort of dive deeply within your experience. Inviting that deep relaxation and scanning your body, the sensations within your body mind, and inviting yourself deeper and deeper to the heart of your experience, which is the vastness of being. We are one as consciousness. And there is nothing that is outside of that oneness. This does not prevent you from living the diversity of experiences, bearing in mind that everything and everyone is yourself. An expression of the same self. Don't make a problem out of thought. Everything arises to awareness. Don't try to fix thinking or feeling. Simply notice the awareness, presence. Everything arises to I awareness. And that is not a thought, it's not a feeling. It's not subject to thoughts or feelings. It's not defined by thoughts or feelings. Is not known by thoughts and feelings. It knows itself as I am. It knows that it knows. Any questions?
Maggie,
Yes?
it's Esther.
Hello, Esther.
Hi. I wanted to share something that happened the other day. I was reassembling a bed that I had to take apart, and it was so hot. You know, I didn't have the air conditioner on, and this bed, it was one of those metal frames,
Mm-hmm.
and it seemed like everything that could happen wrong went wrong. It was like one of those projects, that you get into,
Yes.
and the sweat is running off my face. And it's just like at one point, the whole end of the bed fell over and it bent the bolts. It
Oh,
actually bent the bolts, and I couldn't get the bolts out. It was just one thing after another. And I, I had such a deep realization in that experience. In the middle of it, I just felt myself almost starting to laugh because I I just realized that none of it mattered and that I wasn't judging it. I prefer that it wasn't happening that way,
right.
but the judgment was just gone. And all your words on surrender just rang so close to home as to how living is these days.
Hmm.
so appreciate them. So I just wanted to share that.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you, Esther. Yeah, somehow sooner or later there is a divine order events in the world, the mind, the body. They sort of, while previously they were sitting in the front row, somehow they consciousness takes the front row, and these events they don't displace consciousness. They don't displace the core, the piece of being. Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Esther. Hello, Zoe. You're right. Can you speak about this quote from Ramana? Non-action is unceasing activity. I would say that there is non-action that arises out of mind. And this non-action, which is a product of thinking, has an opposite, which is action, which is also a product of mind, meaning it is thinking. So there is a non-action that has an opposite. Non-action, action. Non-action is better than action, or action is better than non-action. So there is a debate between action and non-action, which is thinking. And there is non-action that transcends that level of mind, that transcends thinking. That is neither non-action nor action. You could call it action, you could call it non-action. It is neither and it is both. One could say the ocean is waving, making waves, making currents. And one could say the ocean is itself, doing nothing. One could say the sun is shining onto the earth, Or one could say the sun is doing nothing, just being the sun. So I would say that if Ramana said non-action is unceasing activity, that was probably a statement that was addressed in a specific manner to a specific audience at a specific point in time. Because Ramana could very well have said, non-action is unceasing non-activity. Or non-action is neither activity nor inactivity. Or he could have said action is unceasing non-activity. There is truth in all of these statements. What is important is to understand within your direct experience that the I is not in the realm of action or non-action. It is neither active nor non-active. And it's maybe even be more important for you to understand experientially in your experience that while the surface is active, the core is still. While the body is sweating, pouring sweat, the heart is at peace. At the core, nothing is happening. And you are all of it and none of it. You are the activity and the stillness. And you are neither activity nor stillness. Sometimes we say, you are the stillness of being. Only because there is the impression that we are a particular being, a particular personal being with all their concerns. So we say you are the peace of being. You are more or less presence. Only because we believe we are an individual presence, an individual entity. All the teaching is pedagogical because that the reality cannot be expressed in words. What we are talking about cannot be expressed in words, and yet we are talking about it. Which is it's good, because we need to talk about it to arrive to the silent understanding. Also, as I'm reading the non-action is unceasing activity, I am drawn by the term unceasing. Unceasing, Zoe, does not mean it has a beginning and no end. At least how Ramana would be using it in this quotation. Unceasing means it has no beginning and no end, meaning it is eternal. And also in this quotation, Ramana is equating activity and non-activity as one. So non-action is unceasing activity, and activity is unceasing non-action. So you can read it this way, left to right, and you can read it right to left, but you have to take the verb is and put it on the other side. Activity is unceasing, and the non-action too. So I would write it also like that then. That activity is unceasing non-action. Voila. So you can read it this way or that way. Oh, you cannot unmute. Oh, I see. Zoe, now you can speak?
Yes.
Ah,
I
I
think.
hear you.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Let
Wow, that really hit the unceasing when you started talking about the unceasing. Yes, it means it's eternal and without a beginning or an end.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Sometimes in our limited way, we misunderstand unceasing, meaning it has an end, a beginning, but no end. Like a bad nightmare.
Wow. Oh, my goodness. Yes. Yeah, that really opened something up. Yeah. Wow. Thank you, Magdi.
Okay. Okay, Zoe. Okay. Well,
Okay.
next time, folks, if you have a problem with the audio, just let me know, because I do have various control capacities here. Limited. Okay. Well,
Okay.
it's been very beautiful to be with you all. And I wish you namaste and thank you. We'll see you again in a few days. Okay. Hola, Gabriel. Gabi, ¿cómo está? Sí. Okay. ¿Cómo está? Let me see. Unmute. Okay, I hear you now. ¿Dónde está usted? ¿Tú es en Costa Rica or dónde?
I'm back in Kansas.
Oh, you are back. Well, welcome back. Welcome back. It's very lovely
I'm back
to see
to the real life here in Kansas.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, enjoy it, you know, enjoy it. And so the kids are going to school now, yes?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. Tara says hello, okay? Yeah, Tara says hello.
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
Say hello.
Okay, okay, see you
Okay.
soon. Okay.
Maggie, say
Okay.
hi to Tara.
Okay, I
Bye.
will. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.